Hi everyone, my name is Amanda. I'm the operations manager for Julie Slomsky for State Senate. We're so excited to have you here for today, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to phone bank. It's one of the most important things you can do for our race, and this race is incredibly important. So we'll be going through a brief training together, and if you have any further questions, please feel free to email field@julieslomsky.com. Thank you so much again, and I'm so excited to get into this. So here we are, guys, phone banking for Julie Slomsky. Now, the importance of phone banking is integral. It's something that I can't even explain in words. Phone banking builds name recognition for our candidate, Julie Slomsky. We really need to get her message out there and make sure people know what an incredible person she is. We also need to identify supporters versus non-supporters and those who are still undecided. We want to make sure we're turning out our supporters. We want to clean up our list and remove our non-supporters. And we really want to target people who are on the fence and tell them about Julie and how great she'll be for Erie. We need to figure out what message and issues are most important to voters, so we can make sure Julie is addressing those issues and really listening to her constituents. And last but certainly not least, we want to make sure we're informing voters about vote by mail. During the time of a pandemic, it's incredibly important that we maintain the health and safety of our constituents and help them vote from the safety of their own home. This slide is just a brief overview of our district demographics. Our district includes most of Erie County. 1/3 of the population lives in the city of Erie, and the rest of the district is rural, outside of Mill Creek, Summit, and Harbor Creek townships. As you can see, Republican Senator Laughlin defeated the Democrat incumbent Sean Wiley by only 5% in 2016. So those are the 5% of voters that we really need to target so we can turn PA back to blue. Now, phone banking for us this year looks a little different because, frankly, the world looks a lot different. We're centering our script around COVID and focusing our message on the effects of the pandemic. We want voters to tell us what they are worried about and to tailor the conversations towards their concerns. This is a great way to highlight the contrast between Julie and Dan. This is also an easy transition into vote by mail because you can emphasize the importance of staying home and submitting your ballot via mail. Another quick note is we are not leaving voicemails. It is much more important that we make actual contact with the voter. This leaves a more lasting impact and is more likely to get their vote for Julie Slomsky. So let's get into the script. This is part 1, and just to give you a sense of how it's going to go, I'm going to give you a brief example of how I do phone calls. Hi, John. Hey, my name's Amanda, and I'm calling on behalf of the Democratic nominee who's running for state senate in Erie County, Julie Slomsky. How are you doing this evening? Great. Well, we wanted to check in and see if you're doing okay during this pandemic. How has COVID impacted your life, and what are the concerns as we head into the fall? I hear that. You know, as a lifelong resident of Erie County, Julie is deeply concerned about the impact of COVID, and we will use her experience in state government to help our community get back to normal as soon and as safe as possible. As your senator, Julie will fight to guarantee access to affordable health care, raise the minimum wage, and ensure there are strong protections in place for voters. It's of deep importance that we truly listen to the voter, listen to the concerns they have, and reflect back your feelings on the issue as well. We want them to know that Julie is here, not just to run for office, but to listen to her constituents. Now we get to the fun part, the first ask of the script. And this is, can we count on your support for the 2020 election for Julie Slomsky? This is where we qualify voters' level of support. 1 means they're definitely going to be voting for Julie. 2 is they're definitely leaning Julie, but maybe have some reservations. 3, they're completely undecided. 4, they're leaning for a vote for Laughlin. 5, they're definitely voting Laughlin. 6 is other, and 7, not voting. If you hear someone say a 1, respond with, great, I'm glad we can count on your support. This is a great transition to vote by mail, and ask if they will be applying for a vote by mail ballot. We'll get back to this in a minute. If they're a 5 or a 6, thank you and have a great day. There's no need for you to stay in a conversation that's going to make you uncomfortable. And research has shown that when you give a person the opportunity to argue their own point, they actually become stronger in their beliefs. So we're not here to argue about Julie versus Dan. but actually to just lift up Julie and all the great things she'll do for Erie. Now we're getting to the exciting world of undecided voters. This is if you mark down a 2, 3, 4, or 7. Our response is, hey, I totally understand that you're still making up your mind. I want to quickly inform you about how our current state senator has voted in these past months. It's important that we just pick 2 or 3 of these points so we're not bombarding the person with facts. And then contrast it with Julie. So Julie, on the other hand, wants to make workers and families her top priority. She will fight for increased access to health care, strong worker protections and hazard pay for essential workers, and supports a suspension on evictions and foreclosures for during COVID-19. Given what I just told you, can Julie count on your vote for this upcoming election? It's important to recognize here that not everybody is going to be willing to admit that they've changed their mind because of their conversation with you. That's okay. You still planted a seed for Julie, and you're still making a difference with these undecided voters. Just some final tips for this script before we get into the technical aspect of it. Really listen to the voter and acknowledge their struggle. We're going to be engaging some sort of deep canvassing techniques on this phone bank. What does that mean? So it's mirroring their response. If someone says, I'm really worried about my kids going back to school, respond with, I hear you're really worried about your kids going back to school. I'm also really worried about my kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews being in a classroom. We want to frame Julie as a representative who is not only experienced but also responsive to the needs of the community. She sees people struggling and she wants to fix that. Also, we really need to stress the importance of voting by mail. We want to keep everyone safe and healthy, and that's our #1 priority in this election. Why are we stressing vote by mail so hard? Because of COVID-19. We're encouraging everyone to vote by mail or put it directly in the drop box if they have issues with the USPS at the moment. Voters can apply to vote by mail online at votespa.com. We want to track and confirm that everyone who has applied for a vote by mail ballot is in our system, as well as the Board of Elections. Make sure you mark their answer, which is below the support question, and we'll double verify that they are indeed registered to vote by mail. Another super common thing to happen is that you're unable to reach the voter, and that's okay. Remember, we're not leaving voicemails. As we discussed earlier, it's super important that we connect directly with the voter. A not home should be the standard response. Another thing we like to say in field is, when in doubt, not home. The response refused or hostile should be used minimally. This is for very abrasive voters. I can't speak right now, or I'm busy, means that you should select not home or call back. This is not a refusal. Please mark voters who don't speak English as well, and we will forward them to volunteers who are fluent in that language. Now let's get down to the do's and don'ts of phone banking. Do feel free to change the wording. Make it feel comfortable for you. We want it to sound as natural as possible. Try to make a personal connection with the voter. Personal connections have a longer lasting impact than simply IDing them and moving on. Talk about the issues that you are passionate about, and flag any issues or questions you're unsure about. If you don't know the answer to the question, don't make one up. Just tell them you'll get back to them, or someone will call them from our team. Politely end the conversation immediately if someone is being overtly racist or bigoted. You are not required to stay in a conversation that makes you feel uncomfortable. Remember that the work you're doing is important. No matter how many not homes you get, no matter how frustrated a voter may be, you are doing amazing work, and we are so excited to have you. Most importantly, have fun. Phone banking can be so exciting. And now for the don'ts of phone banking. Don't leave voicemails. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know, if a voter asks a question that you're not sure of the answer to. Don't try to mislead or deceive voters. Don't take it personally if someone doesn't support Julie or hangs up on you. It's okay, you'll get them next time. Don't dismiss or demean voters. And don't forget to ask about vote by mail. Finally, let's get started. Click on the phone bank link in your email and log in with your Action ID. If you don't have an Action ID, create one with your email. After you've done this, you will receive a confirmation link in your email. Once you're logged in, your first voter will come up, From there, just keep going. Every dial is important. And remember, above all, smile while you dial. Your voice comes across the way that you're feeling. So if you're feeling excited about this race, the voter's going to feel excited about it too. And I know I sure am. So thank you so much for being with us today, and I'm so excited to have you on the phones. Happy dialing!